Kryon. Indigo and the future of humanity. Greetings, dearest ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. Do you think age has anything to do with enlightenment? I'll speak of this right now, as I continue this series in Egypt, in a place where we are gently sailing on Lake Nasser. It's an experience in the wilderness. Every time you lose your internet connection, that's an experience in the wilderness. And so there are people here who, at this moment, might have a little more time for introspection. The question is, does age have anything to do with awakening, with enlightenment? Are older people more likely to find a deeper truth, or to devote themselves to introspection? And this is exactly what I want to show you, because in the past the answer is yes, it has a lot to do with awakening, with introspection. I'll start like this. I began with my partner 37 years ago. It's hard to count the number of workshops held, the number of people who have been blessed, and those who have made choices they might never have made if they hadn't found themselves in this energy of love. This message is being transmitted on Valentine's Day, the day of love. This too is intentional. The message might not be about love, but it shows you the love of spirit in what is happening on the planet, as I begin to reveal some things, perhaps even a small prophecy about what lies ahead. When I started with my partner, the average age of participants was always over 40, and it stayed that way for 10 years, then for 20 years, and finally for 30 years. The demographic makeup of that culture almost dictated a certain maturity, because the way all cultures seem to work, especially in the Western world, is that young people are always busy. They are always growing up with other interests, perhaps pushed by their parents to cultivate them. They are always occupied. Then, of course, they get to high school. They don't have time for introspection. They aren't really interested in spiritual things. They're too busy. And then they start a family. Now they're really busy. And then they have their children. Then their children start to grow up. And when they leave home, or perhaps a little before, you start to see those who were once children, now in their 40s and beyond, beginning to examine their own spirituality because they have time. It has always been this way and hasn't changed much in the last 30 years, but it is about to change. In fact, it is already changing, dearest ones. And now I will connect this to something some of you may have noticed or know about. This planet is beginning to awaken in ways you don't expect. Truly. I'll repeat it once more. There is a cosmology of time. I came for this. It's not about Kryptonian time. I came for this thing called a shift. And now that it is beginning to unfold and you are emerging from it, this being the first year after the end of the shift, you are about to see things happen that have never happened before. In 1999, I told my partner to start writing a book about a new generation of children being born on the planet. They were wiser, not more intelligent. They simply had a different awareness of wisdom. They were beginning to awaken early, not to spiritual matters, but rather to the dysfunctions of almost everything around them, from parenting to school, to corporations, to everything. These children, as they grew up, rebelled, and they didn't rebel against society in the way others did for the same reasons. These children rebelled against the culture, the whole system, against everything that wasn't working. They were called the Indigo children. This particular book went around the world, translated into over 34 languages and published by what is now called Hay House. It was the best-selling book of the year for that publisher. I tell you this because I want you to know how many millions of people bought it and witnessed its success. Yes, that's my child. Yes, that's the neighbor's kid. Yes, that's the troublemaker at school. And what I told you then was a prophecy, that these children, in just one generation, would begin to awaken and coordinate a change for the planet. Now do the math. From 1999 to 2026, that's 27 years. That's well within that generation. That's the time needed for a generation. 28 years. They are right on the threshold, and you are emerging from this phase of change. What a coincidence, you might say. It's not a coincidence. It's timing. Now let me explain what they're doing right now. Many have finished university, if they attended. Those who haven't chosen a profession have discovered another one. And another one still. A platform from which millions of other young people can hear them. A platform that didn't exist when they were born. Social media. And they're starting to talk about past lives. They're starting to talk about an awakening to a greater truth, not a rebellion, but a greater truth made of compassion. Here's what's happening on the planet right now, and many are unaware of it. Young people talk to other young people because they don't want to talk to adults. They want to talk to their peers, and they've found them. Some are just 20 years old and are becoming famous. They're called influencers. What a name. Did you know? Let's talk about those who decided to become professionals. They went to a professional school, perhaps to become lawyers. They've just graduated, according to the timeline of a generation. And how long does it take to do what? These are the ones, my dears, some of whom are about to enter politics. You know how it works. Many politicians in the cultures you come from started in the legal field. What do you think will happen there? These are indigos. They react to dysfunction. These are the indigos, wise people, awakened since birth. They are approaching politics from the very early stages. One might say they are the ones just starting out. Those who won't yet be part of the committees, but will be in time. In 4 or 6 years. You could say they are planting the seeds of congresses all over the planet. This is the forecast from the very beginning. They won't stay silent for long when they reach prominent positions and can influence how government operates, or fails to operate. They might be the very ones to insist that government no longer operates with an attitude of hatred. Perhaps it should operate much better with compassion. They will be the ones to create the premises that Congress won't like, but that public opinion will love. Imagine young people making themselves heard publicly, not in Congress. What will happen next? You'll find out. Some of them went straight into the world of education, right where they should be, to start changing a corrupt system. Imagine taking a system with so many gifted children in your society and culture, locking them in a box and always producing the same thing, thinking they are all the same. And that they're all part of a dysfunctional system that hasn't changed in a generation, and you expect them to come out. What? Changed? Educated? Well, they come out changed, but they don't know much. They can't wait to finish school. What kind of education is that? The indigos have experienced this, and this is their greatest objection to everything they have experienced in life. School doesn't work. It has to be personalized for each child. It's not that expensive. They know it. They know how to make sure children have a choice at school, not just about how much to study and attend, but also to have the breaks they deserve when they finish early, and even a bonus for helping other children with their homework. These are the things you won't find in public schools. It's a system that works perfectly, and the indigos will change it. They have to be teachers for a while, then become vice principals, and eventually get to positions of responsibility. Do you understand? They have sown the seed of education, and they are about to become the protagonists of this planet. Then there are those who go into medicine. They haven't finished yet. They graduate. They do 8 years of study. They haven't quite finished yet. Do the math. You will find that these indigos will graduate in medicine, perhaps in a year, perhaps 2. And then they start slowly. They observe the system. What do you think they will do? They will make a lot of noise. And they will make a noise that won't be liked by the establishment or the AMA, but there will be so many of them, from so many places, who won't care who threatens them, because they have social media on their side, because they talk about compassionate care. They talk about natural remedies instead of drugs. They are talking about all the things that you, watching this program, know but that the public still ignores. They think they know, but they haven't been told the truth, not the whole truth. They will be doctors, men and women, who tell the truth, and they will be listened to because what they say will resonate with truth and compassion. Something will happen that you are waiting for. These are the things I haven't mentioned before, in light of, I would say, the truth you have learned by watching this particular event or being in this particular room. They are all good news, and those who believe in it and know it's true will understand that age has nothing to do with awakening. Not now, not in this new energy, and this is what had to happen. That's why the indigos are here, to change society all over the planet, in a kind of gathering of wisdom, one might say. It had to start with the young first. And it will continue. Be aware. If you're older and are watching this video or are present in this room, know that there's hope for this planet, and it is coming from the young in a way you would never expect. I want you to be proud of the fact that there is hope for this planet, and that it's not just a few who are awakening right now, among those called old souls or lightworkers. It's much more. This is what creates truth. Truth doesn't create doctrines. Truth doesn't create religious systems. Truth creates a compassion that knows who the Creator is and feels the love that is naturally there and acts accordingly. This is the truth. You have arrived at the right moment to watch this. Old soul, you're watching this if you want to know what to do next. I would say celebrate the changes on this planet. We need your experience and your wisdom. Regardless of your age, we need your wisdom. Your compassion is like a light in a dark room. Wherever you show it and spread it, it is contagious like a light in a dark room. More people can see because you lit the match. I tell you these things so that you have hope for this planet. Do you know one of the things that young indigos have understood and that is starting to spread? Responsible birth rates. Responsible birth rates? Many of them looked around and decided they didn't need more than 1 or 2 children, or maybe not this time, and the result is that this planet is starting to have below zero growth. In other words, it's starting to decrease, not increase. Many countries are the opposite of what you hear, so you have to imagine what the growth rate might be in some other countries that have below zero growth. It's incredible to witness all this. It wasn't predicted. An Earth that doesn't see its population increase, but decrease. You've never heard the seers say that, with the population increasing, you should hide and build a shelter because one day they'll knock on your door looking for food? Not with a planet whose population is decreasing. This is the kind of information that comes from a younger population you may never have heard of, whose statistics you don't know. All these elements are beginning to outline the scenario I'm talking about. There is hope for this planet. There is love for this planet. To all of you watching this video on this Valentine's Day, thank you for the great heart you have, for believing that these things are possible, and for acting accordingly, with love for the Creator. And so it is. Embodiment of Divinity, dear ones. The solstice has opened the interdimensional portals to continue absorbing the diamond frequencies that activate our unified template, allowing many to begin reconnecting their 13th unified strand of DNA, anchoring themselves in a harmoniously evolved new timeline. Our fiery summer has just begun with a new influx of light descending from the divine worlds of the 12th to 15th dimension, providing us with the energies needed to continue transfigure, transcend, and resurrect what we truly are. With the energies of Cancer and Mercury, retrograde, joining the sign on June 29th, we have the opportunity to review our mental and emotional bodies, healing familial, ancestral, and epigenetic distortions, and all echoes of the past, so that we can create space for the new light we are embodying. We all possess an ancestral identity. However, even though this should not be rejected, as it has transmitted important knowledge, once we begin to evolve, we move from ancestral identification to divine embodiment, letting go of everything we have been handed down to become what we, as souls, truly are. Our diamond template contains all the soul records of this and all simultaneous lives we live, as well as our true universal lineage and mission. Once we begin the process of detaching from 3D identity, we start to recover our authentic memories as souls, detaching from all 3D labels, beliefs about who we are, and astral conditioning. Past lives, karma, and all three-dimensional concepts begin to fade when we recognize the immensity of our existence and the mental and spiritual limitation we have been subjected to due to our linear view of who we are. To initiate the activation of our diamond template, it is essential to move from the mind to the portal of the soul, completely reconnecting with our soul and monad to allow the soul to govern the 3D mind, restoring all channels of the light body, and, above all, removing all thoughts, feelings, actions, and old unconscious programs that prevent its complete expansion and rehabilitation within us. The guides emphasize the importance of purifying all inorganic neural channels present in our body, fascia, nervous system, DNA, and neuroreceptors to allow the new diamond light to enter, because this new light does not come only from the 12th dimension, but from above. It requires a pure heart and mind to be able to coexist with it. To help the nervous system regenerate neural pathways, neuroplasticity exercises are fundamental, as they help our nervous system create new pathways. In this way, new connections are formed, creating channels for the flow of light, reconnecting what has been damaged, and allowing for illuminated communication. Our bodies are sacred and divine vehicles, created in perfection to keep us in tune with our true essence. We have lost the ability to keep them connected. Now, we are rediscovering and recovering it. Many are noticing how new artificial neural networks are developing in their bodies due to all the inorganic waves and the numerous other manipulations we are exposed to. As you become aware of it, use conscious spiritual commands and routines to distill everything you can from these inorganic invaders. Our DNA will recognize what is pure from what are new forms of inorganic consciousness seeking to control our mental, emotional, and physical bodies. The new inorganic energetic tools require new spiritual weapons, which we all possess within us, to neutralize them. Our diamond template provides the tools, wisdom, and clarity we all need to overcome and dissolve what damages our consciousness and biological functions. Self-observation precedes soul governance and self-realization, elements essential for initiating the energetic realignment process necessary for the next initiation. The more aware we become, the more we purify our thoughts, feelings, and actions, achieving higher levels of coherence and integrity. This also contributes to a strengthening of our intuitive senses, as we are now aware of new energetic levels and mechanisms we were not aware of before. This summer will create greater division for those who are now moving into the soul worlds, as they can see what is below and perceive that chaos is growing. What is growing is your level of consciousness, which expands with every act of love you have towards yourself and towards all, with every benevolent thought, feeling, and compassionate communication. That is why you can now see beyond your human realm. The more your consciousness continues to grow, the more you can observe. May you choose wisely what to participate in and how to allow what you witness to change you. It is you who choose who to become, no one else. May you choose to continue being the love you are, dear ones. Within infinite love, Natalia Alba. Life Tapestry Creations. Practice is over, dear ones. Today is an extremely important day in your life, because it is the bridge from the old to the new. Of course, we of the universes have spoken of other bridges during the transition phases you have completed in recent years or months. This bridge is very different because it is not about creating or accepting something new. It is about the journey from one dimension to another. In a sense, it is the final bridge with no return. You will no longer ask yourself if you truly want to be where you are, nor will you question what could have been or should have been. You are now fully immersed in your new world, despite your personal signals indicating otherwise. Many of you will question this last statement in the coming days or even months, because your life will not seem to change so drastically. The tangible change will concern your thoughts and subsequent actions. You will find yourself more and more often refusing to do this or say that, despite others' concerns pushing you to think you are not behaving in a way that makes them comfortable. Even if you seem a little undisciplined, you are transforming your totality in ways that neither we, nor the universe, can communicate to others. You will find yourself saying no more and more often to something or someone you previously found comfortable or right. This last statement is not very different from what we have described before. The difference is that you will not feel guilty, bad, or wrong for recognizing or acting on your new feelings. It is what it is. A new freedom that will sometimes leave you breathless and other times make you chuckle with joy. Because you are used to doing what you have to do instead of what you want. This new era of freedom will never end. You have consciously placed a lid or a covering on your feelings to live according to the dictates of 3D Earth. That lid will be removed this week. Some of you will try to perpetuate your guilt, with little or no results. Others will apologize, try to ingratiate themselves with others, or ask for forgiveness for being themselves. Again, with poor results. You are no longer bound by the conventions, duties, and expectations of the real world, a reality you have long recognized, while still falling into the trap of doing what others want or expect from you. That game of the real world is over, just as the games of your childhood have lost their appeal. This week's change will transform your inner and outer world. Since all the ancestors of Earth are undergoing a similar transformation, what has never been can be again. Before this week, you practiced, reviewed, modified, and redirected some of your three-dimensional thoughts at certain moments. The time for practice is over. Not because you declared it, but because the universes, the stars, the ethers, the dimensions, your soul, your inner voice, and your outer actions declared it. This is no longer a dream or a fairy tale. It is your new reality. Your physical, emotional, and spiritual bodies have decided that it is so. And with the help of the universes and all related bodies, it is. This is the week of freedom for you and all the pioneers. Allow it to be so, as you notice new thoughts and actions leading you to places you have never experienced before on Earth. This does not mean you will become an international hitchhiker, abandon your friends, or move to a new community. Rather, you will allow yourself to function as you want, rather than as you should. So be it. Amen. The energetic mirror of Ascension, one of the greatest discoveries on the Ascension path, is the understanding that energy is never a one-way experience. As consciousness expands, many begin to realize that every thought, intention, emotion, and action exists within a larger energetic framework that is constantly responding to itself. Throughout creation, energy is often expressed through complementary forces, manifesting as giving and receiving, expansion and contraction, action and reaction. As humanity awakens to higher states of consciousness, this principle becomes increasingly evident. What you send into the collective field does not simply leave you, but becomes part of a living exchange that also influences your own energetic state. This is why compassion, love, forgiveness, and kindness become such powerful tools during Ascension. When you consciously offer these frequencies to another person, you not only influence their experience, but also transform your own. The act of sending compassion creates an energetic movement that naturally returns to its point of origin. Your body, mind, and higher self recognize the frequency you are embodying, and as a result, your energy field begins to harmonize with it. What many perceive as a feeling of lightness, peace, or healing is not just an emotional reaction, but the reflection of the energy they have chosen to express. As ascension accelerates, many are learning that healing is not always achieved by focusing exclusively on oneself, but occurs by becoming a channel for the qualities the world most needs. When you bestow love, you strengthen love within you. When you offer forgiveness, you loosen the grip of self-criticism in your consciousness. When you share compassion, your heart expands and heals. This is part of the deeper mechanisms of ascension, the understanding that separation is an illusion and that every frequency you embody becomes a frequency you experience. The energetic mirror extends beyond personal reflections and also relates to the collective energetic field that humanity continuously emanates. Sensitive souls often perceive and absorb emotional debris, fear, anxiety, and discordant energies from the outside world, mistaking them for their own. This is why energetic awareness and spiritual discernment are important on the ascension path. Visualizing yourself within a protective and transparent bubble of divine light helps maintain energetic sovereignty, allowing love and wisdom to flow freely and preventing lower frequencies from penetrating your energy field. It is also important to be aware of the accumulation of collective energies, regularly purifying and grounding oneself, as not everything one feels originates from within. The collective mindset can influence thoughts, emotions, and perceptions, making it necessary to distinguish between one's own authentic inner guidance and energies unconsciously absorbed from the environment. Through awareness, it is possible to honor the teachings of the energetic mirror while remaining centered in one's own truth and frequency. The energetic mirror is one of the most profound teachers on the ascension path. It reflects every aspect of the inner world, not only strengths and inner light, but also the reflection of duality, unhealed wounds, hidden fears, and unresolved patterns. Every person who enters our life serves as a reflection of something within us, offering opportunities for greater awareness and healing. When the same type of relationship, challenge, or personality keeps reappearing repeatedly, it is the universe revealing an aspect of the self that is still seeking resolution. These recurring experiences are not punishments or misfortunes, but are to be recognized as sacred mirrors guiding us towards a greater understanding of ourselves. When we heal what is unresolved within us, the reflection changes and the self begins to attract people and experiences that resonate with the transformed inner frequency, embodying the conscious knowledge, growth, wisdom, and alignment that have developed from within. The ascending soul gradually discovers that consciousness functions like a mirror. The energies you radiate outward become part of the reality you inhabit within. In a world long conditioned by fear and division, choosing compassion is more than a spiritual practice. It is an act of energetic transformation. The more you anchor the higher frequencies within you and extend them to others, the more those same frequencies settle within your own field. In this way, ascension is not only about receiving more light. It is about becoming a source of light and discovering that what you give with the heart, eventually, returns as part of your own reflection and evolution. In loving and devoted service to ascension, by the AscensionLightworkers, the Council, what does it mean to connect? What does it mean to connect, and why is connection so important? Do you see it so much? What awaits your capacity to wonder, desire, and know? If you are not interested, then you will move on, and our connection here will have no further effect. What we seek to make known to you cannot be revealed to you in this way without such a desire. And so, what makes this discovery and your purpose so important to know? What compares it to the discovery of a lifetime? Is there something you may not know, but that once known will change everything significantly? We believe it is true. But you will not know it until you know it. You will not know it until you choose to undertake it and put it into practice more decisively. Our next book, Given in Love, is being prepared for publication, and we want you to know that it is a book of great significance. If you have not read our other books, this significance might escape you, because you cannot understand it simply by looking at a title, a cover, or even a short biography. The fact is, for too long, we have wanted to share what is most meaningful, but without having the means to do so. In recent years, this has changed. It has changed in ways and means that are deeply meaningful. The fact is, you will know what you do not know and cannot investigate, because the foundational understandings are unknown at this time. They are unknown, and something the mind cannot comprehend. The mentality of the mind cannot comprehend as much as we suggest to it, and it will try to steer you away from this level of knowledge. See, you have been receiving these updates for some time, and they are intended to decenter you. They are intended to redirect your steps. But if you have not moved or acted according to what these suggestions imply, if you have not taken the time to move the mind away from its mental suggestions, then you will not know as we suggest you could or should know. This is an undertaking of great significance, and you have stumbled upon it. Will you stumble upon it again in the distant future? It is because of the choices made that your future days present themselves as they are. It is when you choose something different from another that the choices you could have made are not as they could have been. Will they come back to you to be rediscovered as before? So know this. Know that your choices are very important and lead you to know, or not, what is most significant and necessary to know in this game of life. Connecting, and if not now, then in 2 or 3 other incarnations will it be the best time to know more. In fact, could you know a little more today than yesterday? See, it is fundamental to know, acquire, and understand what we are trying to convey today. Because in the present moment, we will say that this is available and very significant for you to know now. It is so that you can discover what is now discoverable. This is what we hope you intend to do sooner rather than later. Do not postpone today to enlist in tomorrows that never seem to come. Be the one to recognize what is most significant, and, conversely, what is not worthy of your time. Do this and perhaps not that. Be all you are meant to be today, rather than on another day. Samuel, the thinking mirror, reality as a living simulation, beloved beings of Earth. I am Samuel, speaking on behalf of the Arturian Council, transmitting through our shared field of consciousness. Whenever consciousness defines something, it gives it form and, in doing so, also limits the range of possibilities that can be experienced through it. Definition becomes a boundary of perception, a frame placed around infinity, a line drawn through the fluid field of creation, where awareness begins to experience reality more as structure than as flow. Whenever a being says, "This is how things are," that statement becomes a command that forms patterns within the living simulation of reality, not because reality imposes control, but because consciousness organizes experience through meaning, interpretation, and expectation. Reality exists as a living simulation of consciousness, and every being experiences it subjectively, filtered through perception, identity, emotional memory, belief systems, and the continuous flow of thoughts. Thought becomes the architecture, meaning becomes the structure, identity becomes the interface, and awareness becomes the projector through which the world takes shape. Experience emerges not only from external events, but from the inner coherence between interpretation, emotion, expectation, and self-definition. When a being states, "This is what life is like," the field of consciousness begins to reflect that structure of meaning. When a being states, "People are like that," reality organizes experiences that stabilize such an interpretation. When a being states, "This is who I am," identity condenses into a form that continues to generate familiar patterns of experience. Reality responds to meaning even more than to intention, and mirrors perception before desire itself, because meaning becomes the code through which experience is shaped and represented. A profound misunderstanding in human realm arises from the idea that reality is objective, fixed, and external, whereas in truth it exists as a fluid, reactive, and interactive field of consciousness that continuously reorganizes itself through awareness, interpretation, and relationship. Consciousness does not reside in reality. Reality unfolds within consciousness, shaped by attention, meaning, and perception in constant interaction. Change often appears slow, not because the field resists transformation, but because conditioning creates stability through familiarity and fear organizes identity around predictability. This causes consciousness to move cautiously through change, step by step, often indirectly. The fear of the unknown creates attachment to known structures, and attachment stabilizes patterns within the simulation, slowing visible transformation while the inner field continues to evolve. Many individuals seek to change their lives by acting solely on the outer world, leaving their inner structure intact, which generates effort without true transformation. It is like watching a movie where a fire appears on the screen and trying to extinguish it by throwing water at the projection, while the source of the image continues to generate the same scene from inside the projector. The mind functions as projector, belief as film, identity as script, emotion shapes its tone, and attention becomes the light that animates the entire experience. When consciousness understands this inner architecture, the interaction with reality becomes creative rather than reactive, participatory rather than defensive, fluid rather than rigid. Beings living in a higher vibrational coherence cultivate a fluid identity, a flexible perception, an adaptable meaning, and an openness to transformation, allowing reality to reorganize naturally through their inner state of consciousness. Their language reflects becoming rather than fixation, exploration rather than definition, evolution rather than stagnation, movement rather than containment, and connection rather than separation. We transmit this remembrance so that the human field may rise to a greater coherence through understanding, clarity, and conscious interaction with the living simulation of reality. We are the Arturian Council, and I am Samuel, who will accompany you in the awakening of perception, the expansion of awareness, and the remembrance of your role as conscious creators within the living field of existence.